Alright, fellow Kaijudo duelists, this is Chris here from Team Squeaky. Want to talk about Pax Prime, right? So, everybody knows Pax Prime occurs on Labor Day weekend here in the Seattle area. This year, they extended it out to 4 days versus previously it was 3. So, there were actually one Kaijudo tournament Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which was really cool. Last year, they did a lot of demoing, doing kind of a league event there from the previous year. And so this year we actually got to take and have tournaments. I was really happy about that. Getting to take and meet some different players from in and around the area, some maybe from outside the area, and just getting to kind of take and enjoy the Kaijudo experience, right? So Friday's event was actually held at 5 p.m. Before then, we were actually taking and helping wizards take and do different demos for people trying to come up and test the game, see what the game was about, and get free decks and free packs of cards, right? Which is really kind of cool because we got a lot of people locally interested in Kaijudo, right? Both in northern Seattle and in southern Seattle area. So I was really excited for that particular piece. I mean, we went up in demos every single day. Not to kind of get off track, but just seeing the numbers, we went from Friday, then to Saturday, then to Sunday was really cool with the people that we were reaching out to and getting interested in our game. But anyways, right? So Friday's tournament was a constructed tournament, bring your own deck. I didn't know what to expect, right? Because I know PAX here at in Seattle when it happens tends to be more about video games, board games, and things like that. The Magic the Gathering area is a pretty large area because, come on, we're home to Wizards of the Coast, right? Bunch of Magic players and stuff like that, so I wasn't for sure what to expect. We did get enough players to take and hold the tournament, which is really cool. But we were missing a couple players. I was expecting a couple people to take and be there that they were there, but yet they didn't bring Kaijudo decks. And I was kind of like, what are you guys doing? And they kind of let me know that, hey, we're doing this game. We're here to sit there and test this. So this panel is this time and things like that. So it shortened the amount of players we had, but we had enough to take and hold a tournament, right? But so the first night's tournament, I got to the finals and versus John McClay. You guys know him if you're out of the Carolinas. I believe he's out of there, if I remember correctly, because I think that's where he's going back to here shortly. And then he was at the LCQ and things like that. So me and him were in the finals, and what was up for grabs was a full foil sheet of super rares for the first place winner, and a full foil sheet of very rares from Dojo. Both were Dojo sheets for the second place winner, plus packs and promos, sign, and stuff like that, right? Which was a really cool prize support. I was really stoked. And so we had Wizards judges, so they didn't make a final, right? We went to time. Myself and John have just both won a game each, right? And the third game, neither of us could just get control and take a board wipe. I was getting removal at the end, plus my dragons. He was playing LWD in control, and every time he put down Andromeda, I just remove it, or I'd swing something in with Slayer, and neither of us could just break 5 shields. It just was not happening. And so got the time, got the 5 turns, and just neither of us could do anything, right? So at that particular point, the judge asked us what we wanted to take and do. So me and John were trying to figure out how to take and divide up stuff. So we ended up taking and figuring it out. And so at that particular point, John ended up taking and winning the super rare foil sheet from Dojo and PAX. And then I ended up taking and winning the very rare uncut sheet of cards. So I was very, very, from Dojo, I was very, very, very happy, ecstatic, because I've seen people win these, and I've always wanted one, even from my time in Magic the Gathering, and it's just really cool, because these things, they're very rare. You won't see a lot of them. I mean, even down at the bottom of the sheet, It talks about being the property of Wizards, not for resale, and it actually has its own like little serial number right here. So it's just really cool that they can have one of these. I definitely appreciate it. So ended up going the second day to the PAX Prime, right? And as I said, we did more demos, and then I got to see some different decks between both days, right? So obviously they brought their Haven Control builds that they showed off at Gen Con, at the Champs, or at the Battle Break Celebration Party and stuff like that. And I got to see some other stuff too. I got to see a WDN non-Kalima control build, which I thought was pretty cool. It did not have Kalima in it at all. They were using like Kivu, Scourge, Ramp. I mean, it was really kind of cool. And then I got to see the new Mono Light build that they kind of had envisioned. Blinder Beetle Prime is definitely going to sit there and be a thing going forward with Enforcers. Shock and all on steroids. That is all I can say about that. It was cool seeing the different builds, right? I think I saw, by the time I was done, like 4 different Haven builds that were there. Saw Faces of Tatsurian. It was just really cool with what they were bringing out and kind of playing against us and showing us between all of them. I really wish I got to play against one of the guys who was showing up late. I only got to play 1 game versus his Haven Control build, but I know he had to have other stuff that I just didn't get to sit there and see. And unfortunately, I didn't have the ability to take and video it, any of it. I went to Best Buy to try to get some type of a stand for my phone so I could videotape matches and things like that. Best Buy didn't have anything. Walmart didn't have anything. Target didn't have anything that I could set my phone on and use it as a tripod to get up high enough to take and tape. So that kind of sucked. But you know, it was definitely a fun experience. It gave me ideas, and more than happy to take and show you guys some different things. I actually showed them because I was designing a couple of different decks before I went up, and so I got a deck list from Alex Jacobs, and I kind of played it, and I kind of twisted it, and I sent it back to Alex, but I decided to take it to PAX Prime and show R&D. It's pretty cool. It's a glass cannon type build, and when I got it to go off, and I did it multiple times. I lost a couple of different games. Don't get me wrong, right? It's still in test mode. We don't have all the cards and things like that. But watching their eyes when that deck would just go off was awesome, because you watch your opponent's eyes, right? Because I told them, hey, these are guys who had brought decks or playing constructed and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, I'm testing something. There are proxies inside of here. Just be aware. And they were cool because obviously we weren't playing tournament stuff like that. Watching their eyes when it happened, watching Wizards' eyes when I did it against them, it was just bonkers when it would happen, right? And I know a couple of them are taking it back today probably to build it and test it back there to kind of sit there and see what they can possibly do with it. But it's just the way that it goes off is really cool. In one turn, and hopefully maybe I'll show it to you guys before Champs or the KC start. I don't know. But in one turn, I literally had all my creatures from my deck onto my field. It was bonkers. It wasn't in one turn, but on that turn that I got it off, it was every creature out. There was no stopping it. So just really kind of cool. I went from having 1 creature on the board in one turn to having 14 at that particular point. It was brutal. So, and mind you, wiping my opponent's field at the same time. So it should kind of give you an idea of cards or set of cards that are inside of it. So, and I know I'm going to continue to kind of work on that deck with Alex. It was just really kind of cool taking and doing some stuff with him. So, working with him across the country on a deck together. So, really kind of cool. But anyway, so second day, right? So I got to kind of get off track there. Second day tournament, right? It's constructed once again. We get more players this time, and like I said, in the day we're demoing it more and more to different people, and it's just been a blast at that point, right? So second day, it was really weird with the event organizer, because Wizards was not there at that particular point. They kind of left it in the hand of Cascade Games and the Magic Judge, who was supposed to be presiding over us. At that particular point, they only wanted to hand out one foil sheet, and it was a very rare dojo, which I just showed you guys, right? And the second foil sheet was not available at that particular point. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. There's supposed to be two. And I'm like, well, when I see Wizards tomorrow, I'll just talk to them about it, see if we can't get things, resolved that way. But so got to the finals once again, and then I was playing a different player. He's been in Kaijudo for a while. He actually runs Kaijudo out of Lucas Games in Redmond. His name's Jordan. And so me and him got to the finals, right? So this particular point, we're both playing dragons, LWDF dragons, right? Each of our own different versions. First game, he takes it. He plops down. He herald into one of my creatures, and then plop down in front of the immolator, spiking up his creatures, and there was kind of like nothing I could do at that point. No removal, no nothing. It was just over for that first game, right? Second game, I just outsped him. And so then we get to the third game, and these have been some epic games at that particular point with what we were taking and doing. The third game was nuts because he would take control, then I would take control, then I'd bash back, then he'd bash back, and finally I got my last bash back, and from there I had complete control of the board, and so I ended up taking and winning that night. What I originally had won was that sheet that I showed you, that very rare dojo sheet, but I kept it there because something just didn't feel right about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll talk to Wizards in the morning with Jordan and that and get it figured out, because I'm like, for some reason something tells me second place player is supposed to get this particular sheet and I'm supposed to get something else, and I don't want don't want to be bad blood or anything else like that. Those are the pictures that I had taken that for the first 2 days you guys are seeing on Twitter from me, right? So we get to the third day. The tournament starts at 2 o'clock, and it's a sealed event. So that morning I went to go test the board game, and then I immediately went over to the annex where Kaijudo was being held at, and so we brought it to Chuck's attention, and Chuck's like, okay, I can fix this, no problem, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool. And I walked over to Jordan, because Jordan was there, and he was like, and I told him what was going on. He's like, okay, cool, so I'm going to get a sheet. I'm like, yep, you're going to get the one that was supposed to be, that was the very rare that was actually supposed to go to you, and I'm supposed to get something else. I don't know exactly what it is, but, kind of, okay, cool, right? So, but anyways, so third tournament, right, is sealed, and we have a lot more players this time around, and it's kind of what I expected, because we just even demoed the game more and more to people, and with them not having to have a constructed deck, now they could play and feel on even par with the rest of us, right? And so, I'm getting a lot more players this time, which was really cool. So, sealed event happens, win my first 2 rounds, and then get to the third round, and we had 10 players for sealed. And so the first round of a draw happened or something. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it left only me and another guy undefeated at that particular point. And so we basically looked at each other, and the judge at that particular point in time was another Magic judge. And he's like, how do you guys want to take and do this? Are you guys actually going to battle it out? Are you just going to draw? What's going to take and happen, right? And so at that particular point, I'm like, well, you know what? I've got 2 foil sheets. I know probably I've got a super rare coming to me. And so, I kind of looked at the guy. I'm like, do you want to take and draw? We can split that way. I go, you can have the super that's sitting over here, and I will take the very rare sheet, because the super was, you have a super sheet, and you have a very rare sheet. The super sheet was from Dojo. The very rare sheet was actually from Evil Fury. And so, and this gentleman's name was Yuri. He actually plays out of Card Kingdom with him and his girlfriend, and he's like, okay, cool, we're just taking a draw, right? So, that particular point, we figured out how we were going to take and divide the prizes and stuff like that. Nothing big on that particular piece. And so, we were just like, okay, cool, right? So, he ended up taking a super rare sheet, and then I ended up taking the very rare sheet. And so this is the very rare sheet. It actually came with the top loader and that. And once again, an uncut sheet, right? It's got its not for sale sign, and it's got its little number here and everything else like that. And it was just really kind of cool because, I mean, even though I'm like, well, I can fight for a super rare sheet or for another super rare sheet, but I'm like, it just didn't make sense, right? That would give me number 3, and I'm like, I know I'm getting a super rare sheet, so I'm not too particularly worried about this. If I can, let another player have a super rare sheet, it's going to be really kind of cool, watching their face and everything else like that. And you guys saw the faces of the different players in that when we won our sheets and we got our sheets. So, and I didn't feel bad about taking the very rare sheet. I was actually, it's got squeaky on it, so I was really kind of happy about that piece. Yeah, I kind of gave up a bat breath for screeching, but I kind of like the screeching Kaijudo artwork personally. So Chuck takes, and so he's trying to correct the issue from the previous night, right? So he comes back out with my sheet, and he says, okay, Chris, this is going to be your sheet for last night, right? So this is my 3rd sheet, and it's a super rare sheet at this particular point, and I'm like, okay, cool. I was expecting Dojo, and so he comes out with a very super rare sheet, actually, of Evo Fury, right? And I'm hoping you guys can kind of take and see this. There might be a glare because of the top loader and stuff like that, and I'm sorry if it is, but I was like, oh, this is so cool, right? Because it's got Neuron on it, it's got Orion and Tatsurian. I mean, come on, if you guys remember back in the day, I'd created a deck called Transmission from out of Evo Fury that was running Neurons and Flame Spike Tat, and Thunder Sultan actually played at the large Winnabox tournament out of Texas, right? So, but then Chuck tells me something else, right? He goes, Chris, so you know about the uncut sheets, right? I'm like, yeah, they're pretty rare. They're not cut up. They come directly from, the company that cuts up and supplies everything and stuff like that. He goes, okay. He goes, what do you know about sheets that don't have backs to them? I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, what do you know? He goes, the sheets that don't have the back of the cards on them. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, take a look. And as you guys can see, my sheet here does not have the Kaijudo backing at all. Right? I'm like, I don't know what that means. And everybody else is kind of oohing and awing at that particular point. And he's like, and he told me, he goes, Chris, these are the test sheets that we get. He goes, and these are probably even rarer than your uncut sheet. And at that particular point, I guess someone said I had tears in my eyes or something like that. But for me, like, I was ecstatic, right? Just because of what this actually meant, about getting this particular prize from the previous night. And so, like, I got up, I immediately shook Chuck's hand, said thank you, and I was just like, I was jumping up and down Sunday, couldn't have been more happy, to be quite honest with you. And so that's kind of how my Pax Prime ended. I stayed that night, demoed out Kaijudo to new players, and was handing out free cards to people and things like that. What's funny is my sealed deck that I had used at Pax Prime I actually gave to a kid who had just bought his first competitive deck for Kaijudo. Right before the tournament started, he was like, can you teach me how to play? I had to look at Chuck real quick and go, hey, this guy right here will take care of you. And I went off, right? The kid wanted to sit there and learn how to play Kaijudo. So I kind of came back and I said, here, man, take my sealed deck, right? And you can use this for however you want to with your new deck. And the kid was ecstatic at that particular point. But it was really cool because I felt like I was going to take and really help out a new player and help out things within Kaijudo, right? So I've got 3 foil sheets now. But here's the thing, and this is something I kind of want to take and announce. I know this is a very long video, and I apologize for that. But I'm actually going to take and do this because having 3 foil sheets is a lot, right? And so here's what I'm going to take and do. I am actually going to take and give one of my foil sheets to a local store to hold a huge Kaijudo tournament before the KMCs begin. Now, for those of you in Western Washington, and I'm going to post this in Dojo and everything else like that, I don't know when we're going to hold this yet. I got to talk to a store owner. I got to get everything taken care of that way, but I am going to give away one of my sheets. I am not playing in that tournament, so it can actually go to someone else inside the community. And I think this is a really, really, really good thing. I've already told some people about it. They were like, ooh, ecstatic. I told Wizards, the morning of Sunday, hey, if I win a third sheet, this is what I'm going to take and do. And I could kind of see their smiles and stuff like that, and they were excited about it as well. So I will make a different video for it and make a larger announcement about it as soon as I have all the information. But just get ready, because I am going to give up one of my foil sheets. It is going to go to somebody else. I am not playing in that tournament, and you guys will have the chance to win yourselves a foil sheet of Kaijudo, uncut, right? The one I probably am going to give up will be the Dojo sheet. It's got Gilliflame on it, Gorgle on it. Let's see, who is it? Granger is on it, Deathblade Beetle, and I know I'm missing one. I can't think of which one that is. Oh, Trox. So just get yourselves ready, and hopefully you guys are going to have a lot of fun. I hope to make the event very memorable. I don't know yet if it's going to be sealed or it's going to be constructed, but I want to make it the largest event possible. So whatever people want to talk to the owner and stuff like that, whatever we can kind of figure out what's going to be the most to drive players in, that's what we're going to take and do, I think. So yeah. So hopefully that's really kind of cool for you guys. Hope to see a lot of you all out there when we do take and hold it, but expect it to happen before the KMCs begin at the end of this month. And so as I have more info, I will definitely take and give it to you all. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. So take care. This is Chris from Team Squeaky. Later.